I'm Reverend Natalie Jean, and this is the Infinite Elevation Hour. I'm here with my co-host,
Erline, Germain.
and we're here to give you some creative insight, some spirituality, all kinds of things. We're here to make you laugh too. We're here to educate you on the world and the current events and how spirituality plays an important role in your daily lives. How was your day, Erline?
It was quite good, actually, for a change.
Would you like to expound?
I know, I'm laughing because I know you're going to be like a little bit more. Today was a nice day. Things kind of seemed to flow. I think the past couple of days, the weather has thrown me off because I was so used to that warmness, the sunshine, and then it was like, I don't know, 2 days ago it was kind of cloudy, started getting windy, and it was like, oh no, I hope winter's not coming back. So today was like, I think I'm kind of a seasonal person. When the sun is shining, I'm happy. I don't know, kind of weird. But on a different note, yeah, just things seem to flow. Might be because I don't have class tomorrow. I don't know.
Amen. I don't know. You're probably skipping and jumping and flying through hoops.
No, I just felt really good. Like today was one of those days where I was like, oh, okay, I feel good. So
no, that's wonderful. I think that is excelente.
And how about you? How was your day?
My day has been extremely busy. We're really busy at work, and I'm trying to. Well, no, I am on this half marathon track. You know, I'm training for that and getting ready for my CD release party, and so it's been crazy. It's been wild. It's been all kinds of things. Now, this past weekend, we were at the Day of the Book, the Kensington Book Festival, and thank God this year it did not rain. It was nice. It was sunny. We were able to walk up and down.
It was windy at first, though.
Okay, it was windy at first, but then it smoothed out a little bit. It was sunny, and we got to eat some wonderful pizza. Yummy, yummy. And Erline here had a good day. She had a wonderful day. She got to meet some new, interesting people.
I did. And I don't know, I just felt like, you know, sometimes you wonder why things happen the way they do, but then you start to understand. Because I remember when I first got there and I was like, oh my God, they put us like way back in a tent, and I was like, I didn't like the location at first.
Right.
Then the guy was like walking up and down the street playing the bagpipes. I was like, Lord,
what is this?
What is the deal? It's too early for all this music. But like you said, as the day progressed and the sun came out without any wind, it was a nice event, and I'm glad there wasn't any rain, because last year
was ugly.
Yeah, it was kind of terrible. Like, you didn't get to meet other people.
There were hardly. I was walking in that rain.
So it was good to like meet some of the other creative individuals that were there, and to get some insight into what they do.
Right.
And also to just enjoy yourself as well.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Yeah.
We had a good time. So today, what I'd like to focus on is this past week. And of course, I'm talking about, Boston. I'm talking about the tragedies, not only Boston, but I'm talking about the tragedies of the week. You know, the blast in Texas, Boston, and the other things that are going on around the world, building collapsing, people dying. China, they had an earthquake. And what is seemingly going on around the world. But first, I'd like to touch on the Boston aspect and give my 2 cents. And I'm going to get Erline Germain's 2 cents on the tragedy, because she's a smart gal. She's a creative gal, and we always want to know what people are thinking in regards to, you know, when events like this happen. I talked about this in the previous show on my Reverend Natalie Jean with the Word, but I want to expound on it a little bit. As we know, we have 2 young individuals that have a strong belief in something, and they felt that they needed to bring that out. Was it appropriate? Obviously not. I think the Boston bombing is tragic, specifically more or less because it was for a charity event. and you see these people. The first thing I was thinking is that you see these people crossing the finish line after running 26 miles. Some people, this one older man that was in his 70s, he was near the finish line, and then he heard the boom and he fell over. And then the police came over to him and they said, are you okay? And he's like, oh, I'm fine. He said he finished the race. He's like, I'm finishing these 26 miles. And you know what? I give him kudos for that, because at that instant where people were rushing around going crazy because they didn't know what was happening, this man said, you know what, I'm not going to fear anything. I'm going to run. And then he basically was staying at a hotel nearby, and he decided to just run all the way to the hotel. So he did more than 26 miles. This event is very tragic, but I have to say that I thank God that there were only 3 fatalities where there could have been way more. And I thank God that everybody that was admitted in the hospital are going to be okay. Yes, they're going to need prosthetics. They're going to need a lot of rehabilitation. But there were only 3 lives lost where there could have been hundreds of lives lost. Now, I always say I send out a prayer to the families of those that, their lives were lost in that, because it is tragic. Nobody should lose their lives during a charity event or any time like this. But after the incident, I don't usually like to look at photos. But for some reason, I had to look at every photo that was blasted on the internet in regards to that. And the one particular photo that always comes to mind was of this man that was in a wheelchair being rolled towards an ambulance, and he had just had his legs blown off. Why? I kind of tried to figure out how that happened to him, and in reading the article, he basically was standing where the older brother dropped the bag. So his legs were right next to it when it went off. And what's interesting is that when the blast went out, he tried to stand. He didn't even realize that his legs were gone. And so this man rushed to, this man is like a guardian angel, rushed to him. The man with the cowboy hat, a lot of people know who this is. And he basically, he knew what to do. He took off his shirt, found some cloth, wrapped the man's leg so he wouldn't bleed out. And then he had a piece of the man's artery and was holding the artery as they were rolling him down to the ambulance.
That's very graphic, Natalie.
It's graphic, but you need to hear it. You need to hear it, because that takes courage. Because Natalie would have done the same thing. Now, Natalie wouldn't have known to grab an artery and been like, okay, let's run out, let's do this. But that man, and if you read the story about this man that saved his life, he's had, I think one kid was killed in one of the wars or something like that. One committed suicide, I believe. So he's had a lot of tragedy in his life, but what he's done is dedicated his life to helping others. In fact, one of the guys that takes my water aerobics class knows the guy and said he's part of some group that he belongs to, but held on to it. The man, if it wasn't for that man would have died, would have bled out. It's beautiful.
No, it is, and it's to show you that in the face of something.
The man didn't even think.
No, and he was there for a reason.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He sprung into action, like, without thinking. He said, bam, I'm going to save he didn't just save his life, he saved a couple of other people's lives during the tragedy. Now, a lot of people will start, the first thing they're going to start is hating, okay? And then the second thing they're going to do is they're going to look for what? Muslim people. They're not even going to think that it's anybody in the United States that could possibly do that. But we do have people here that hate government and all that kind of stuff. My thing is that the first thing they reported when they started to look for the individual was the person was dark or the person was black.
I didn't hear that.
Oh, yeah. That was the first thing that they announced. They were suspicious black-looking character, dark-looking character. But lo and behold, that's not what it was it? So I think we need to change our concept of who and what can do these things. Anybody is capable of doing these things, sadly, but anybody is capable. And then what happens after this is that people start to hate Muslims all over again. After this incident, there were stories on the internet about how some Muslims were being treated very badly. People being cursed out for no reason, just because they might have a scarf on their heads or they look Muslim. People won't go near them. It's just like after 9/11, people wouldn't go near Muslims. They were afraid. Now, I'm here to testify that not every Muslim has that belief, like jihadists or whoever wants to blow themselves up or bomb people. But there's another perspective to this situation that people need to start understanding. People need to start seeing. And it's not condoning violence. It's not condoning hate or anything like this. But suppose you sit down one day and you really look at countries like Israel and Iraq, Afghanistan, a lot of the countries in the Middle East. Let's say that's where you come from. And every day you walk out the door, you don't know that if that's your last. You could be going to the marketplace or you could be going to a wedding. And you sit at the wedding. And lo and behold, somebody comes in and explodes himself to kill 200 people or 26 people. Imagine yourself going through that every single day. Or imagine you knowing that some of your family members have died through these tragedies. Now you're sitting here in the United States, you're angry. You're looking at this. And the United States is a beautiful country, a wonderful country, a country of freedom. And so you're sitting here, and then your mind starts racing. You start thinking, well, how can this thing keep happening to my country? And why isn't anything happening here in the United States? And sadly, it's starting to become a standard here in the United States that people think that they can come here and just throw off bombs, shoot people in schools, do all kinds of things. My take on it is that there is a consciousness. There's a shift in consciousness. More people are more focused on being negative instead of being positive. They're hating instead of loving. And so the United States is starting to become bombarded by a lot of graphic and erroneous violence, which it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be in any country. But these kids or whoever is sitting down, they're looking at their own country, and then they decide to get angry. They say, well, why is this country just being, they're so lovely, they're so happy. And so we have two individuals, well, one individual and one brainwashing another individual to believe that this is something they need to do in the name of their own country. Is it right? It's definitely wrong. But I can understand their anger. I can understand their pain. We come from a country called Haiti. And it's interesting that nobody knew about Haiti until the earthquake happened over there. There's been a lot of violence. There's been a lot of bloodshed in Haiti, which is extremely sad because it's a little tiny little country where sometimes people have to struggle for food. But then there's the wealthy side also. And so we know what it feels like to watch your people or any type of people struggle and suffer. So this, I believe, is going through the mindset of the two individuals that did this erroneous thing. But I believe that everything happens for a reason. With our demand for background checks and guns or at least having a license or something to protect our people here, I believe that everything, the violence that's coming through, is God wanting to awaken something in us to say, this has got to stop. This has got to change. It is not, we have to understand the pain of everyone around us. I understand, and you know what? I bow down to the heroes and the people, the military that go into other countries and, they're fighting for the people in that country and they're fighting for the freedom of the United States as well. But at the same time, we're over in other countries killing other children, women, men, and all that stuff. So we can't sit back and only say that, okay, America is this great country. We have to take responsibility for some of the things that we do at the same time. But this is an eye-opening experience for me. I know this is what it is for me, and I'm explaining it from my perspective. We need to stop the violence. We need to stop the hate. We can't always look at a different culture and just because they believe in something, hate them and say, okay, well, if they believe in something, I'm not going to surround myself. And I don't believe in that. I think people can believe whatever they want to believe. As long as you're harmonious, you're loving, and you're joyful, and you're not trying to harm me or my friends, my family, or anybody in this universe, then I'm cool with you. You don't have to believe in God. You can do your own thing. But it's an eye-opening experience for us now. We've got to change our consciousness. We've got to start loving everybody. And don't think that your religion is the best. God is the best. God is good. God equates love. We can't get into this idea that my religion is not the best. I know what works for me. You got to find the thing that works for you. We've got to embrace each other's religion. God put all these religions on this earth so that we can see, I always say this, his beauty. Because God is in everybody's religion. And we are here as light bearers so that people can understand everybody's religion. I just don't talk about Christianity. I talk about Hinduism, Buddhism, all those things. Because we have to understand one another. We have to be here for one another. We've got to love one another. Erline?
Well, you've said a lot. Some things I want to touch on. I think a great deal of the issues, as I'm looking at it, stem from misuse of energy. Because we all have energy within us, and the way we use it, is the question mark. So you have some very talented individuals that pulled off that bombing.
Yes, extremely
They
talented.
decided to use the energy in an incorrect manner because they were harming instead of doing good. And yes, a lot of that stems from, I think, their background. More so, I would say, the older one, and his interest in radical Islam. Because I watched I think it was Dateline came on last night, and they did a really good in-depth series on what's going on in Boston right now. So they gave a little background on each of them and some of the stories that unfolded was kind of shocking for me because there were red flags, but
hello.
Some of those red flags went unattended too, and not only from the FBI, but also down to the mosque that he went to, and he stood up and was starting to say some things that were a little bit radicalized and counter to true Islam, the Quran and stuff. So, on that level, I said, okay, he didn't have a really strong community to pull him aside what's really going on, Secondly, another issue that sprang from that was the internet. How much information is there a way to regulate what gets put on there and by whom? Because a lot of the stuff that was coming out was indicating that some of these radical groups had posted step-by-step instructions in English on how to build these sophisticated bombs and stuff. So, and then what was even more shocking to tell me that these guys were very, very clever, that they never practiced. This was the first time. They didn't have an exit strategy. It was like, let me just go and test this out on people. So that also gives you a little insight into how deeply passionate they were, I guess, about hurting others in the name of their belief. Now, if we flip that around in helping others in the name of our belief, we would have a much better society, as what you were stating. And I think that's where people miss the mark, is like switching our brain to see, how can I be of service? How can I be productive instead of counterproductive? And how can I work towards the greater good? Because not only is life important here, but it is important everywhere. And I think the misconception, and a lot of foreigners think like, oh, everything is all good and gravy here. But it really isn't, because you have a lot of people working towards different things. I mean, I drive down the street, there's a homeless man asking me for money. You know what I mean? His situation's not any better than somebody else who in another country, he might have it better here, that he can maybe go to a shelter and find somewhere to sleep at night. But it's just to say that I think we all deal with challenges
Differently, yeah.
from different countries in different ways. But it's getting through them, and maybe having the proper steps to get through them is of the essence. And to be honest, like, I followed that whole story too. I think it shook my world, and I think when you asked me the question, how am I doing today, maybe I got some closure from watching that report last night, because I don't normally watch television. It just came on, and I was like, okay. Because when it happened, I even was talking to my boyfriend, and he's like, oh, they left the country. I said, no. Really don't think these guys left.
They weren't that
Even before they released the pictures, I said that I'm not sure if they were too professional, because it didn't set off a big thing, like a big killing.
Professionals would have knocked down every building there.
Yeah, and then they would have probably blown up themselves.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But it was definitely a wake-up call. They said this was the biggest attack since 9/11 on American soil. But it all correlates to a series of other things that happened last week. I think you mentioned that in the beginning too. Right. The fertilizer plant exploding, the earthquake. It's just... And I remember one of my classmates, he started freaking out in class. He was like, oh my God, what's the world coming to? Oh, he was getting all panic mode. I was telling him, you just have to really be calm. Because if you start feeding into that energy, it's going to get bigger.
Right.
But you have to always remain calm, loving, relaxed, and trust in the good. And I really think those that stayed home, as they were told, and prayed to find whoever did this, made it happen. Because I really feel there's an energy in America where good and even in the movies you see it.
Yeah.
I mean, the good guys,
the good always pervades.
You know what I mean? I mean, just, and in my life experience, doing good works out. You know what I mean? It might not sometimes be right then and there you get a reward, but
I mean,
in the long run. And I think these kids, I'm going to call them kids, because the 19-year-old especially, he didn't know any better.
He didn't.
And if your older brother, who you look up to, is telling you, I mean, he knew better in terms of maybe not harming.
He knew right from wrong. I believe that.
I'm a little suspect about the wife not knowing, but then again, I understand their culture. It's very, like, women do not. Yeah, but then the report was like she was working like 60 to 70 hours a week.
She was working a lot.
And he was not.
No.
And I was like, Lord Jesus.
That wouldn't have worked in my household.
She was taking care of the kid
and going to work.
And she was American. And I said, my goodness, like, he really played a big game on her. And I don't know, I'm not saying to say that all Muslim, I dated a Muslim guy. It was not the best experience for me. But it's just to say what works for one may not work for other. But especially in this country where we have a lot of freedoms, where we're able to do so much, and I go back to being productive. There's so much you can do to release that energy. I mean, if you really feel, start a nonprofit, help some kids, you know what I mean? Help some kids in your country. Or it's just so much that you can do to channel that energy towards some good, great things. That to end your life so suddenly over something so ridiculous is mind-boggling because of the amount of intelligence they had. And another thing, the fact that their father didn't believe it was them.
Yeah, well, I understand. I actually understand the parents.
No, I mean that, but the uncle was.
The uncle said, "Screw that! They need to die."
Yeah, it's just two different.
It's two different aspects.
And it's just to say, like, we may not always be honest to our parents and stuff. But I was shocked because the dad said he called over and said, "Are you guys okay?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, we're fine." And then the younger one was even talking to his friends the day after.
Went to school, went to a party.
And they were like, "Oh my God, did you hear about the bombing? Oh yeah, that was so sad." And I'm like, how can you be so two-faced like that?
They had to be.
But
what he's gonna say? He's gonna be like, "Yeah, I had a little part in doing that, and I just chilling."
But what I'm saying is,
I understand. How can you do that? How can you destroy life and just be like chill after?
Yeah.
No, I understand.
But I think they went into panic mode when their pictures got released.
They didn't even go in. What's interesting with that is that when they found the pictures of the two guys, it didn't even register to them at the time. These kids were walking normally while the bombs went off. They weren't in panic mode. They were just let me see what we did. And that was it. And then it wasn't until, the American government, the American system is it's intriguing, because what you realize after seeing this thing is that there are cameras everywhere. And this is not just people's cameras. The United States, they have you everywhere. So if you're picking your nose somewhere, they're going to know. You're scratching your butt, they're going to know. It's an amazing thing.
But that also that they know your history, because I remember when they identified them, they couldn't find them just yet.
Right.
They were like digging deep.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
To find out every single thing, people they knew, and I said, that's getting so deep into, I guess, somebody's personal space.
Right.
But I guess this also raises the question, are you really living in privacy? You know what I mean?
No, we're not living in privacy. You could be taking a shower. They could be looking at you.
No, I know. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think on certain aspects, but I did think that it was interesting that the Russian government did also flag him, and that he went for 6 months away. Just certain little red flags that we missed. But I understand there's so much other stuff there.
Yeah,
they
but
said
this was pertinent.
On a daily basis, the FBI gets like 10,000 or plus.
See, when I hear that kind of stuff, I say I don't care. They were watching him to speak, and they did admit, he fell off the radar. But if he's a risk, with all the we're in the 21st century. With all the equipment or whatever we have, there's no reason why they should have dropped the ball on them. I think that they were extremely lax. Now, this kid, the 26-year-old which died, he wasn't always like this.
No, I know. I heard that he was a boxer and everything.
He was a boxer. He was very good, almost was going to go to the Olympics, but because he wasn't an American citizen or something like that, he could never go to the Olympics. And I think that affected him a lot. And maybe if he had gone to the Olympics, he wouldn't have done what he did, but I don't know. But something shifted in his consciousness to make him do this. Now, his younger brother, what's interesting is not one person had a bad thing to say about this kid. This kid, after school, would go help kids with disabilities, Down syndrome. And, people were like, he was encouraging when he used to wrestle and somebody lost a match. The kid said, oh, my God, he came to me and said, don't worry about it. You'll get it the next time. This kid was a great guy. And so, I strongly believe that the older brother brainwashed him and told him, look, we need to do this, da, da, da. And then you know what? The young kid fell under his wing. He fell under, his spell.
Well, then, okay, I'm not saying I don't
and
buy
it's
that.
Not like he doesn't know right from wrong.
No.
But I do believe he was brainwashed.
Okay, the report I heard last night was kind of weird in that when they cornered them outside of the apartment and they started the shooting after they shot the cop.
Right.
The older brother jumped out of the car and started shooting at the cops, like just straight, like, okay, then they shot him. The younger brother was in another car. He ran him over. Well, he ran towards the cops, so they didn't know. He had an opportunity to back up and go the other way, but he ran towards the scene, and I'm thinking, well, why would he do that?
Well, there's an explanation for that. I think, for me, this is what I believe. I believe that they had a pact. I believe that he probably told his brother, look, if anything happens to me, if I'm down, you've got to kill me. You've got to run me over. Sometimes, and I was reading the history of extremists like this, and I don't call them extremists, but they often have a suicide pact. They often say, okay, I'm going to go out in a hail of bullets. They're going to kill me, or I'm going to kill myself. So that's where I understand why he ran the brother over.
But for what purpose, Natalie? So he can be a martyr?
There's that. There's to be a martyr. And do you know what the American government people will do to people? Sometimes they don't talk about that crap. But they do torture, whether they want to say it or not. One congressman said they should torture the boy already. So in my mind, and in what I understand with the American government and all kinds of different things that can happen to these kids, they knew there's no way they were going to get out of there alive. And they often, extremists like this often make a pact. It's either they're going to do a shootout in the old corral like in the Westerns, or they're going to kill themselves.
So why didn't the younger brother, I don't know, why did he not end his life? Or
he tried to end his life. That's what happened.
So
when the man found him in the boat, the boy had shot himself in the throat, thinking he was killing himself. But
really?
Lord knows, I don't know, but something happened. He just survived.
Really?
Now the kid can't talk. So he may not have the ability. He can express himself. He can write, and he has like a gunshot in his hand and shoulder. He has a multiple gunshot wounds. He's in stable condition, but he tried to kill himself. Because at first I thought, isn't that interesting that he got shot in the mouth? No, they said that he tried to commit suicide.
Because I was wondering, because I think he knew, like you
know,
were saying,
yeah,
what
Natalie
they were.
would have been. I don't know why he did this mouth thing. I would have been like here. He must have been scared. I don't know. And you know what? It's funny. When they caught him, I felt so bad for that boy. That's the first. My mom and I said the same thing to each other. We felt so bad for him in the sense that, my God, he has no clue of what he's about to go through. He has no understanding. And because I believe,
do something like that, I mean, you have to look at maybe the older, and I think that's where the older brother set him up, because, I mean,
I don't know if I don't believe the brother set him up. I believe that
because if he survived, okay, he's gonna go down for both of them.
Right. But I don't believe the brother set him up. I think the brother might have believed they were going to ride off into the sunset together or be killed together.
But they didn't have an exit strategy.
Yeah, but they might have had a pact between the two of them to say, most of the time with these things, they do have a pact about, look, you got to kill me, I got to kill you, this, that, and the other. And so I wasn't there. I can't really say for sure.
Right. So you don't think they're working for anybody?
No. No. I don't think so. I'm not sure. I'm not there. I don't know these boys. I wasn't in their planning session.
No. I'm just.
But I don't believe.
We're only speculating.
This is too homemade. And extremists would have knocked down everything in Boston. Those buildings would have gone down. And this is not the way they operate. They don't do little. Well, I don't want to say this is a small venue, but they don't do things like this. If they're going to strict.
They had more than one.
Yeah, they had more than one. I mean, they had some in little spots, but I think they wanted to make some kind of statement, because the fatalities are not that great. Even in the other places that they put whatever, the fatalities are not that great. These people, when they do something, they want hundreds, thousands of people to be killed. This would have been like, maybe 100, 200 people die. But the reason that we felt bad, I'm still looking at this kid as a 19-year-old kid who's been brainwashed by his brother. This kid knew right from wrong, but he might have looked up. And you know what? I can't fault the kid because he looked up from his brother and he thought, well, maybe this is the way. Maybe this is the way. I don't know. But for such a young kid, I felt bad for him because he lost his life.
Yeah.
He was a good kid.
Yeah.
And here's the other side of that I wanted to discuss is the aspect of brainwashing. If you look over centuries, there are cults that have been out there. You're talking about Waco. You're talking about Jim Jones. Jim Jones said, drink this Kool-Aid and be with me. All these damn people drank the Kool-Aid. They all died and he stayed awake. Then you had these other people telling people, I think they had to drink something else. And then they had to wear purple robes and they were going to fly off in a spaceship. All dead, leader survived. You have these things in churches. It's not that they're going to tell you to drink some Kool-Aid, but they're going to put a seed of doubt and fear into your mind to believe that they all have the answers to everything. And nobody has the answers to everything. we just don't have that in the extremist things. We have this in our daily living where people are saying, well, I have the answer. You've got to follow me. And if you don't, you're going to hell. That's a cult. But if you're in a situation, if you're in spirituality where somebody's guiding you to be who you are and to really become an intuitive, to understanding to who you are and understanding your oneness, that's totally different. When somebody is not trying to make you a conformist into what they believe, if not, then you're going to turn into ash when they look at you. That's a totally different story. We have got to get out of this idea of brainwashing people to get them to do what we want them to do. You can't do that. You need people to be able to live their lives. And if you know the word, if you know the spoken word of God, just tell them. And let them, God gave you free will to discern right from wrong. God doesn't stop you from doing anything.
No, and I think a lot of that stems from people who are not strong enough in themselves. Mm-hmm. Because in order for someone to lead, there has to be followers. Mm-hmm. You know, so if you're not strong in yourself, you're going to follow whatever trend. I mean, I fell into it or whatever that's put out there. Mm-hmm. But if you're like, wait a second, that don't sound right. You know?
I don't know if I'm going to go down
I got to go to the bathroom real quick. you know, it's like when that second voice comes in or first voice, whatever, and it's like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
It's also trusting that intuition within you that's kind of guiding you along the way. Because, sometimes my teachers be telling me stuff, and I'm like, wait, I don't know. I'm going to handle this a different way, and then I'll end up convincing them differently because it'll be, I didn't think of it that way. Right. And so when you are strong, a leader like that, then things like that can happen for you.
But I think that, and I don't know, I think even with the younger kid at 19, he had a little inner voice. That probably told him something, told him maybe this is the right thing for you to do. But he went to the other side. That's just what he did.
Right.
And so, Mr. Stretchy over there. So he decided to do something else, and tragedy ensues. Now we understand the law of karma. This is a representation of the law of karma. You can't think that you're going to do something so horrific and not reap what you sow. So he's about to seriously
No, and that's
reap
what I'm saying.
He sows.
It's like before you do something, you should know that it's going to have a consequence. It's that whole discernment thing.
Negative or positive.
If I do, and I saw something earlier, this artist was showing how to do mind maps, like A, B, C choices, and then this, that. Okay, so stay tuned. We'll be right back after our short break. Thank you.
All right, we're back after being cut off. This is the Infinite Elevation Hour, and yes, we were talking about karma, but fortunately, we've got to get to some creativity. And that's actually a fortunate thing because Erline is just a creative genius, and she's going to show us how to do some kind of board here, which is going to be fabulous and interesting, darling. Take it away.
Okay, Natalie, you're so hilarious. I just brought over a mood board to show you, and I know that, and I'll show it in just a minute, but sometimes we have projects we're working on or things in our minds but don't really know how to start off. And one of my teachers suggested for something else and I said, I'll apply it into other things, to start off with a mood board. Like, what's the mood that you are going for? Because there might be several different elements, But when you visually put it down, you're like, oh, okay, it makes much greater sense. So kind of getting out of your head. So it can be used for if you're looking to do a business, a book, maybe if you want to go on vacation, just anything that'll put together maybe different images or words to kind of elicit what you want. So this is a mood board that I had made for my clothing line. And just really briefly, just wanted to gear it around women. I love flowers, maybe bright colors, dresses mostly, just a sense of being happy, healthy, and free, and for all body types. So it's something kind of similar, but it kind of helped me narrow down what I want to do, and we were talking about this the other day, but I haven't really executed it just yet. But along the way, a really good book. I don't know if I've ever showed this book.
You have.
The Artist's Way, A Spiritual Path to Higher Creativity. It's been a really good thing because with the morning pages I started doing, and I feel more relaxed. And what she has on every little chapter are some quotes. So I opened to this one, so I guess I will read it.
All right.
What I'm actually saying is that we need to be willing to let our intuition guide us, and then be willing to follow that guidance directly and fearlessly. So that goes along with what we were talking about earlier, is tapping into your intuition, because you are getting clues and hints as to what it is that you should and should not be doing.
Right.
And your decision to not listen sometimes can have detrimental consequences. And another great thing about this book is that they have little exercises to kind of play back maybe some of the things that you think you are having issues with, or things that sometimes seem big but aren't really big. So one of them, I guess I ran into this one, Forbidden Joys. It's just an exercise. Sometimes we say no to ourselves. It's astonishing the number of small ways we discover to be mean and miserly with ourselves. When I say this, many people often protest that it's not true. Then I asked them to do this kind of exercise. List 10 things you love and would love to do but are not allowed to do. But it's not saying that there are no limitations, but you put limitations on yourself.
Right.
And I thought that was interesting because, one of the things on her list is, go on vacation. And I know for me, I'm like, to do that, I have to do this, and I can't do this, and I can't do that. But then if I sit back and I'm like, but if I want to go on a vacation, why can't I go on a vacation? So it's switching your mindset that there is a world of possibility into what you want to do. Take a life drawing class or streak your hair blonde. I don't know. But sometimes we don't do certain things because we're also in fear of what other people might say or might do, or I don't know, whatever kind of holds us back. So I encourage you guys out there to take up maybe designing your own mood board if you have a project, or checking out this book, or just, jotting down a list of things that you would like to do. Some people call it a bucket list. No matter how wild or outrageous it may be, because 9 out of 10 times you're going to end up doing those things. So.
Well, the thing is with that mood board is if you have violent tendencies, I think you should go get the mood board. Maybe you should put your ideas, your tendencies on the mood board, and just spread them out and see what chaos your mind is doing. Also, I think that would be an interesting.
Or writing.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I think of people who write horror movies, and
where that idea comes from.
I know, right? Or Stephen King, some of his
it's
stuff.
better that they write about them than actually do them.
No, I know, but it's just to say that they're channeling that energy into something else that some people might relate to and be like, oh, thank God you made that movie. It helps me sleep at night. I don't know. I don't sleep
It's
from
it's
horror movies.
amazing, and I'm glad you brought that up. The people that write like horror stuff and murder, the murder mysteries and stuff like that. You wonder how is it that people can come up with ideas or the stories like Friday, Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th. There's something within that person that's just, and I think it's the best thing they could have done is put it out on screen rather than really come out with it in real life.
And
It's
sometimes they're
amazing.
taking from stories of people that have committed.
Right.
Which is even more like, I don't want to say shocking, because I'm not saying there isn't much that shocks me these days, but somebody tells me, I'm like, oh, okay, I believe that, because you're like, oh, okay, you have some life experience. But again, the creative aspect of it, I think, is intriguing, that you're able to take a story and mold it into something greater and then get people to come see it.
No,
And then
I
build
yeah.
and then build upon that and build upon that and build upon that, because there is a market for it.
Right.
But actually, because I remember like when that whole Scream series came out, that was huge.
Yeah.
The mask
Yeah,
and all
yeah,
that
that
stuff.
was huge. Yeah.
I watched that. I was in high school and I was like, okay, why am I even here? But okay, everybody else is here. It was like a big thing. Let's go see Scream. And I'm like, okay. But just to say that, and what happened this past week was tragic. I see a movie coming out soon, probably, about it.
Right.
One of the characters. But I do hope that people have learned, to be more open.
And mindful.
Yeah.
Mindful of people. I mean,
And if something doesn't look right, because I think one
yeah.
guy said he thought it was suspicious that a bag was there. And by the time I think he was dialing or letting somebody know, it went off. So, being aware of our surroundings is important. I was really upset about the child who lost his life.
tragic.
But, sometimes I guess in life things don't make sense.
They really don't talk about this, but the boy lost his life. His younger sister lost her leg, and his mother had some kind of brain injury. The mother and the little girl are expected to live and survive, and obviously they'll have to go through rehab. And it's tragic that boy lost his life, but that family went through a lot that day. They went there to see the father run in the race, and this is what happens to them. Not only them, I mean, there's a woman that was a hairdresser that lost both of her legs.
Yeah, one woman said that her boyfriend jumped on her, and he doesn't have legs now. He's alive, him and his friend, and she just got shrapnel in her legs, and she was just discussing how blessed she is. And they have a picture of her, and then the suspects, as they call them, are in the background, and she's like, I was like 10 feet away, I mean, just these things. And I mean, I was heartbroken when the news broke out. I mean, I was glued to the TV.
Yeah, you couldn't stop watching.
You're just like, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? And I guess we're lucky that we have social media in a way. But then the flip side, after all this stuff, I mean, I was reading some of the threads, the comments that were made. It was pretty...
It's sad because the tragic thing is that even in the face of all this, you're mourning for people, you're praying for people, there are people that are going to come out and be so horrific, so nasty after this happens. And that's what they want. They want you to fear. They want you to live in fear. They want you to become nasty. They want you to hate. And I refuse to surrender. I'm not going to hate anybody. I'm not going to give in to it. I'm running a marathon at the end in October. My mom was always like, do you think you should? Yes. I'm not living my life in fear. I'm going to run. I might run naked in it on top of everything else. But I'm going
on that note.
I'm going to run, and I'm going to be a proud runner of the Baltimore Marathon, running a half marathon, and I'm going to be proud to do it. No one can stop me from living my life. I don't care. After 9/11, my butt would have been on a plane because I like to travel. Nobody will dictate how I and hopefully other people are going to be living their lives here. You cannot live your life in fear. You must live your life to the fullest. And if anything, this has taught you, you need to live your life to the fullest extent of the law. Live your life like it's your last day and enjoy yourself. So this is it. This is our show for today. We're being cut off. But stay tuned for next week. Well, stay tuned for next week when we're back with more eventful insights, more spirituality, more creativity. And stay blessed, stay cool, stay happy. Enjoy your life.
Take care. Thank you.